There's something terrifying about silence before betrayal. You think you'll sense it, spot it coming. But real betrayal wears a smile. It shakes your hand, and then it strikes. In 1503, Cesare Borgia was the most feared man in Italy. Military genius, duke, Machiavelli's perfect prince. By 1507, his empire was gone. His allies vanished. He died alone, face down in a ditch. There was no warning, just a cold turn. I used to think betrayal would come with fireworks, angry words, broken trust. But it doesn't. It comes quietly, in meetings, in friendships, in boardrooms, when you're most confident. The truth is brutal. People only need one thing from you, a reason to believe you're no longer useful, no longer untouchable. That's when the blade turns, and the world doesn't slow down for explanations. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what Machiavelli really meant when he wrote The Prince. Not the schoolbook version, the version that built empires and crushed anyone who got too comfortable. And if you stay until the end of this video, you won't just spot betrayal coming, you'll know how to own the room even when everyone's waiting for you to fall.
Michael was brilliant, Harvard-educated, trusted, rising fast in his firm. Everyone smiled when he walked in the room. But brilliance has a flaw. It assumes honesty earns protection. One day, in a quiet team meeting, Michael said the one thing you should never say in a room full of wolves. "I'm struggling. I could really use some help." 2 months later, he was gone. Not fired, not accused, just replaced by the very people who once praised him. Sarah, his closest ally, had been quietly whispering upstairs, planting a seed. "I think Michael's overwhelmed." She didn't push, she didn't plot, she just let the narrative build itself. A whisper here, a question there. It was enough. You don't have to be broken for them to destroy you. You just have to look breakable. That's the law. They don't attack weakness, they attack the perception of it. Machiavelli knew this better than anyone. The first rule of survival in power games: never bleed in front of wolves. Even if your world is falling apart, make them believe you're sharpening the knife. Because once they smell hesitation, they stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as a position to take.
When I was 27, my first company was falling apart. Investors were vanishing, partners were panicking, and I had $347 in my account. But every morning, I put on my best suit, walked into meetings, and talked about our scaling phase as if success was already signed. One investor told me later, "I was going to pull out until I saw how calm you were while everything was burning." That's when he doubled his investment. Why? Because in the world of power, perception always comes before reality. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you truly are. That's not poetry. That's a survival manual, a page torn straight from Machiavelli's doctrine. If you break, break in silence. No "I'm going through a tough time" posts, no venting to people who can't fix it, no visible panic. Just steel eyes and a forward step. Because someone's always watching, and not always to help. Your struggle is your business. Your stability is your armor. The moment you look like you need support, they start thinking about replacing you.
Let me ask you this. Who's the most powerful person in the room? It's almost never the loudest. It's rarely the one commanding the most attention. It's the one watching everything, saying nothing, forcing everyone else to wonder what they're thinking. During World War II, Churchill gave speeches, Roosevelt shook hands, but Stalin? He sat back, silent, unreadable. And yet, he often left with the most leverage. Why? Because when you speak less, they fill in the blanks, and the human brain tends to overestimate what it doesn't understand. The moment you start explaining yourself, defending, over-talking, you bleed certainty. You give your enemies something to grab. Machiavelli understood this before psychology even had a name for it. Predictability invites control, but mystery? That invites caution. Want to flip a power dynamic in an instant? Next time you're challenged, pause. Wait 3 seconds. Look calm. Speak slower than they expect. And ask a question instead of making a statement. Watch the energy shift, because now they're reacting, and you're observing.
There's a brutal truth most people never realize until it's too late. Once you start defending yourself, you're already losing. Why? Because now you're playing on their terms. Their accusation, no matter how false, is now the center of the conversation. And you're just reacting. Machiavelli would call this the trap of emotional framing. The second you say, "I didn't mean it," or "you misunderstood me," you've accepted that they have the right to question you. And here's the twist. Even if you're right, you still look guilty, because only the weak rush to explain. The strong, they let silence speak. Think of the people you respect or fear the most. Were they constantly justifying themselves? Or were they steady, unreadable, making others question their own words? The key isn't to fight their narrative. It's to dissolve it by refusing to validate it. So, when someone throws a jab, don't flinch. Let the silence grow awkward. Let them repeat themselves. The more they talk, the more unstable they look. The more you withhold, the more they doubt. That's when you regain control, not by speaking, but by staying still.
Let's break a dangerous illusion. Loyalty. Most people think loyalty protects them. They believe if they're kind, generous, consistent, others will return the favor. But Machiavelli knew better. Loyalty is almost never about love. It's about leverage. People aren't loyal to you. They're loyal to what you represent, the access you give them, the safety you offer, the power they feel around you. And the moment those things vanish, so does their loyalty. This isn't cynicism, it's strategy. If you want to be untouchable, you can't rely on goodwill. You need leverage, strategic, quiet, undeniable leverage. Be the person with the key, the one who knows the code, the one people hesitate to cross because the cost is too high. This is why emotional ties can be dangerous. People use affection to get close, then use proximity to strike. So instead of investing in being liked, invest in being necessary. Make yourself essential to the machine so that removing you means breaking it. And above all, never show how much you need anyone. The second they see dependency, they start calculating. You don't earn protection with friendship. You earn it with consequence.
When betrayal hits, most people react fast. They get loud, emotional, dramatic. They want to be heard, seen, understood. But that's exactly what the enemy wants. When you react, you hand them the narrative. They get to frame you as unstable, impulsive, or worse, weak. Machiavelli's version of revenge: quiet, delayed, strategic. Think of Al Capone during the St. Valentine's Day massacre. The city was shocked, but Capone wasn't even in town. He had a public alibi in Florida, while his plan was executed without emotion, without error. That's the model. The more emotional your betrayal, the more detached your response must become. Here's the playbook. Appear unfazed. Gather intel while they think you're sleeping. Identify what they depend on most. Wait until they feel safe again. Then move, quietly, surgically, and without warning. Because power isn't loud. It's precise. And nothing is more terrifying than someone who was hit hard and never flinched.